We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What are we missing? We got it. About the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of
the community can support the STEM project by We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the STEM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m. Either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the STEM project. To learn more about how to support STEM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
It's right there. And Paul Kincaid. Make sure you congratulate them too. Like to hear your name here? Then consider beginning a career with Albemarle County Schools Transportation today. You can find and apply for Albemarle County Public Schools Transportation positions at k12albemarle.org/drive-with-ACPS. k12albemarle.org/drive-with-ACPS. July 26th, Tuesday, 8 p.m. It's happening Saturday, July 26th, Tuesday, 8 p.m. at 152 Hollywood Road, Tillman, Virginia.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Good, like in the video you're playing, it's just live video. Yeah, so either it's just like that, it's on the studio, or it's one of the videos you play. So,
you can't like just stop the video before it's 44 seconds, is what I'm saying? Like, if I click this, it's gonna do it for 40 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
15.
Yeah, no,
Click it
you
again.
can't. Yeah, click it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you. What's up?
Sorry, I'm gonna dress real quick, boys. On to my sister.
Got you.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
You in there? Yeah. There we go. Here we go. You know what it is.
That's right.
And if you don't, you better ask somebody.
You know.
I to the Ism, H to the Izzo Talk Show. Back like we never left. All right, so tell a friend, just in case somebody has tuned us out, Miss Mac. I have no idea why they would, because they know that we take Cville to the world and bring the world to Cville. Can I get an amen?
Still here. That's right.
That's right. Still here, still standing for the people. So you know how to hit us, IMHO Talk Show. However you would like to get in touch with us, let us know what you would like us to discuss, what you would like us to continue to talk about. You know, all that good stuff, Max, because with so much going on, as we always say, the red lights are lit. Max, but you know, a better way to kick off today's show than to talk about, you know, the heart of the city, the soul of the city, right? What all we can continue to do to be informed, right? But also what are our action items, you know, to help save the city, if you will. So without further ado, to help us kick off this conversation, we have none other than former mayor, the Honorable Nikuyah J. Walker. Nikuyah, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, I'm blessed and highly favored, you know, and it's always a blessing to be in your presence. You know that, soul sister number one.
It really is.
Thanks for having me.
But don't be modest. It really is. I enjoy every conversation with you.
I don't know about the saving the city part, but we can
try
to talk about some of the needs.
Yeah. You know, and you know, like there's so much. It's so much serious. Definitely not making light of anything, particularly like the tragedies recently. Thoughts and prayers to all of the families, you know, all of those involved, and all of those that just keep, you know, struggling, you know, like for a better day for our future. And so, Miss Max, you know, what I wanted to do, if it's cool with you and Nikuyah, like I wanted to get sort of your main points, because I don't want us to run out of time. Like, so if you were able to prioritize for us what bullet points we should hit on what you think is most pertinent right now that our listening audience should be paying attention to, right? So we can, you know, have a call to action, like so we can get the boots on the ground. I don't know, like maybe top 3, 4, you know, things that like you would like to cover in this hour.
You know, I always like to talk about criminal justice, housing. We need to maybe somebody needs to be talking about like just the broader like direction, whether there's an agenda when we're talking about the Black community. How are we going to come together versus kind of like piecemealing it in silos? So that's important. So those 3, local government and responsiveness, both from the city and the county. I'm seeing some of the same concerns that I've been speaking about forever, with just the lack of being able to communicate directly what their plans are. And you can see the percentage of Black people. I remember Holly years ago saying that, Holly Edwards saying we should get t-shirts made and put the percentage that we are of the population on it. And, you know, we laughed at her, you know, at the comment when she said it, but I have thought about that every year, probably since she made the statement, where we can see like the percentage at that time was around 18% and now it's showing around 15%. And where are we going? And what does that mean for the people who remain here? So those are all, you know, important topics.
Okay. Like, so, Ms. Max, where should we start? What you think? I'm hearing all that. First that comes to your mind, you know, pressing question and issue today.
Well, I think that we should start in the probably most appropriate place as far as the city is concerned. And City of Charlottesville experienced a very unfortunate event just a short while ago where there was some gun violence that impacted physically 5 individuals, ranging from ages 10 years old to, I believe, 54 years old. It's one of the premises for us even having this conversation right now to discuss the soul of the city, state of the city. And so I think that that's the appropriate place to start.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Nikuyah, I guess unless it's something, in particular that you have in mind, like, I will, sort of nudge you with the question of like where we tackle that.
Well, all the points that she just mentioned were priorities.
Oh, for sure.
Are in some way tangled into this very situation. But
No, totally fair. And the reason that I wanted to narrow down on a specific question with that, because it's rattling in my mind. I was thinking of the right way to word it based off what you just said. Because Nikuyah, the big thing with me that I want your take on is that a lot of times we have our qualms with law enforcement. Yeah. Right. Like with police. And rightfully
I still do, but
right,
go ahead.
right. But and that's why I say, rightfully so. But at the same time, they have a job to do, right? And so we are always fighting that struggle of balancing, talking about how do we clean up the streets? How do we make the community safe, right? Yeah. So on one part, there's a job that we expect the police to do. But at the same time, we don't want them profiling. You follow what I'm saying? So there's a delicate balance of where when a young man or women will get locked up, we will get up in arms. But then if we're real with ourselves, we gotta be like, what did we do, right? To be more supportive to that young person, to prevent them from going into a life of crime to where the police had to be called in or had to do a job. Like, so what are your thoughts, to Miss Max's point and that, like that balance as a community and, how we address things like the shootings that happen?
One thing we lose sight of often is what's the root of the problem. Because we can talk about officers coming in, police cleanup, and we will always, I have said consistently since 2017, and before then, but I've been talking very publicly since that time, that these kind of encounters, yes, it hasn't been 5 people getting shot at a July 4th event before, so that's a new thing. But we all have a list that we can go down and ramble off names of loved ones, people we cared about, people we care about, who they cared about, who are no longer with us. So the violence, that's not a new thing for Charlottesville, unfortunately. And so we are talking about, yes, things have escalated to a certain point. You ask someone on 10th Street if they think things have escalated and they have memories of West Haven in the 90s, they probably will say, no, it's just a continuation, right? And so then you have to ask, like, what is the root cause there? And I always say there are one of two things. You don't think that Black people, Black mothers, Black fathers, Black kids are capable of more, right? So you either think that, or you have to own like what kind of culture this city has. And we know that poverty produces the type of outcomes that we are experiencing right now. It produces people who have had so much trauma, so much pain, that they act out in ways that people were acting out on July 4th and have been acting out in an escalated way, according to the city police since 2020. And so what's the root of that? And if we go right into what parents need to do differently, what parents should have done differently, then we can remove what kind of culture this city has consistently for hundreds of years and definitely for the past few decades, created. And it's not—
Parents certainly play a role in it.
Parents do play a role in it, yes. And hopefully you are doing everything you can, to tackle, the problems. What I've often said, I remember years ago when I lived in Garrett, Friendship Court, they wanted to do a story on me and highlight, oh, you're so different than all the other parents down here. And I'm not, right? Yes, I
The
have
acceptable
different
Negro.
activities, but the people that you're talking about, they are my friends. And I often would say it's a difference between like having support and not having support a lot of times. But I'm not going to blame a person who couldn't, struggle through it, differently than I did. I want to figure out like, what does that person need, and can we give them the support? People don't have the same mindsets. People can't just, work through something. I often think of when people are, like domestic violence. Some people can go through domestic violence and it makes them stronger. Some people, it breaks them down, and they, 10 years later, they're still dealing with a relationship that happened, that ended, 8 years before the 10-year time frame we're talking about. Like, these things impact, families a lot. And we know that poverty produces this kind of callous nature where people are unfeeling, uncaring. And some of the parents, because we know a lot of these parents that people are in the media being portrayed as parents who are not doing their best, parents who don't care about their kids. And what I want people to think about often, what I saw was parents that no matter what they did in their house, once their kids left outside the door, was a lot of mess for their kids to get into. And we also have to think about the response. I was working out this morning and there were 4 white kids in a car getting high, and it wasn't weed, right? The fact that they can pull up in a garage, sit there comfortably and get high for an hour. Black kids, I don't want anybody's kids to be able to do that, but there's immediately somebody has already looked at the car, saw Black kids in it, called the police. It's an immediate call. I kept thinking, like, what happens to kids when you call the police? Like, who helps them? It's 8 a.m. They're driving a nice blue SUV. Where are your parents? I'm thinking the same type of things that we're talking about with accountability. But at the same time, I know part of the answer even for them. It just looks differently because they're not portrayed in the media the way our kids, but those kids are suffering just like our, kids are. It's just like our kids are highlighted, and they'll probably eventually get help, hopefully, and our kids don't.
So thank you for that. So before we get to the ideas for the systematic changes, though, let's start with the accountability of the community. And the reason I always call our people to the to the mat is that because we can keep generation after generation saying what the system doesn't do for us and how it oppresses us and whatnot, right? But you can have 2 kids living side by side, right? Similar households, and there's different decision making that happens. And I totally get that there's like generational traumas and all that good stuff that happens. But as a community, I feel like just like we demand accountability at city council meetings, we have to start demanding accountability in our communities as well. So I want to kind of start with those steps, and then we go to the systematic piece.
Yeah, I'm not talking about not holding accountable, but what I am asking us to look at, it's like, let's take, most people love music, so let's just use that as an analogy. So if Lauryn Hill never makes an album again, if her kids came out banging, with a banger, we wouldn't be surprised because we know there's a foundation, there's something happening in the household, right? That there's still connections, even if she hasn't made another album. But I feel like sometimes what we ask is the people who don't know that process, don't know the system, didn't fail through it or grow through it, however you want to say, we ask them, why haven't you created what Lauryn Hill has ever? Right. And so some people just don't have the same foundation. Even if you end up in the same space where you're struggling mentally, it is what her kids are experiencing in that house, even if their mom never made another album, and even if she struggled, is very different from a parent who never had that kind of platform or connections. So one of my closest friends growing up, and I've used this story a lot, when I had a kid as a teenager, I had paternal, maternal, grandparents, aunt, cousins, everyone. There's not a time where I couldn't go to a class that my daughter's paternal grandmother wasn't like, oh, I'll pick her up after I get off at the post office at night. Like, I had childcare. I could go back to CHS and finish. There are some people who I know, one of my closest friends, she did not have that person. She did not have somebody meeting her so she could go to school and for them to take her kid. And if your energy is already low, what we ask people to do sometime is, I think you should push through it no matter what, without understanding that those building blocks that should be in place, they are not there for everyone. That's what I'm talking about. I'm with you on accountability. As far as my kids, it's just like, we've struggled through a lot, and I've told them consistently, I expect you to struggle through it, right? And I'm going to hold you accountable, because nobody's going to come up in here and save you, right? And so I'm never speaking from a systemic accountability from that angle. I don't ever, unfortunately, they are not in a position where they probably can even assist, which has been my struggle for the past, 3 years now, because after being in the position with the city as mayor, seeing the things I saw, I probably would have done better in life not being there, right? Because now when people say, what does that 30,000 foot view look like? I'm saying, I can tell you what the people in some of those positions said, but they're not doing. And so you're really asking people to really make a way out of no way. And unless they can figure out this capitalistic system in a better way than the majority can, what's going to happen to, to their families? And so it's a big question mark. And I'm not even necessarily maybe the person who can answer that best, because I'm still struggling with it.
I have had the fortunate and unfortunate opportunity, if you will, to really have a growing understanding of exactly what you just described, Nikuyah. And I say that because our family happened to come in contact with a young gentleman, trying not to cry, whose family had a recent encounter with police, and he's a minor. And that situation wrecked him, and to be able to be so close and see the fragile line that he toes in terms of turning to a life of, all the things that we don't want him involved in, guns, drugs, robbery, etc., different things like that, and turning the right way is so fragile. It's so fragile. And this guy, he can't snap his fingers as a kid. I can't snap my fingers and you give me a new family or a new home or a different neighborhood or different circumstances or a different background. And then not the worst thing, but another component of this is that I didn't choose this. I did not choose it. I am stuck here. Now, what do I do with it? And every time I have the chance to talk to him, I'm always encouraging him to listen, do something with your life. Do something with your life. Are you listening to me? Do something with your life. And so it has helped me to understand that we do not give enough of value to the fact that there are some people that are in just a lost, difficult, unbelievably difficult life situations, and they cannot do anything about it. They don't necessarily have the power to do anything about it. And the question remains is like, who should that be important to, right? Because it's not necessarily important to the police when they show up to arrest you that your mama didn't raise you like she was supposed to, So
the village,
right.
We're all part of the village.
Yeah, that's. Go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking back to what Charles said about accountability. And if you talk to some of those young men, kids, they're kids. I had a recent conversation a few months back with the two prosecutors, Almar and Charlottesville. And one of the topics of our conversation is like, if there was a program that existed, diversionary, what's the age that you would accept, right? Because when you talk about a 24-year-old like white student at UVA, you're not like, oh, this grown man, you know, like he's a man, but you still understand like where that person is at mentally. But when we start talking about an 18-year-old to 24-year-old Black kid, I mean, you've been a man since you were 5 and threw your chair back in your classroom, right? So the perception of our kids being not able to be kids and not able to make mistakes, that's one thing. If you talk to them, though, they will tell you that their fathers, their uncles, many times their mothers, their grandmothers, aunties, uncles, like there's a history of incarceration throughout the family. I remember when I was at Region 10 that men would come into me and some men would tell me how they were sexually abused in prison. And they still thought they had it together. Some men would tell me how they were sexually abused in prison. And then they would tell me how broken and fractured they were from what happened to them. And they couldn't even, you know, figure out whether they were actually men anymore, right? So that was a common topic that came up. And so my question back to you is, with this history of incarceration that the city has experienced, and if you ask some of these young kids who are out here shooting, using drugs, all of those things, where were their families at? They probably would say, a majority of them, not all of them, but a majority of them would tell you that they were incarcerated. Then we turn to the people who were incarcerated and want them to have figured it out through whatever they went through incarcerated to be able to then come home and then instill something in their kids that they have even had ripped from them. And then at the same time, and so then this is what I'm talking about, the system. Then the new police chief comes into town and he says, Kacha says, we know who are committing these shootings. They're mostly juveniles and we will lock them up. Locking people up has never worked. We know that it does not work, right? It feeds a system that either destroys you further, it serves capitalism best, and it breaks down families. They are not sending even if the 4 white kids that were sitting in that car this morning, the police pulled them over, their fate is not a criminal justice system. They're going to get someone is going to try until somebody's last breath to get them the assistance that they need. And so we put this burden on Black people to be like these superhuman beings, to no matter what, be resilient through everything. And then if you're not, then it's something flawed about you, something wrong with you.
Totally get what you're saying. But would we agree that that would still need to be the last resort if that's what it comes to? For instance, like if there is a young man that's a gang member and he's recklessly shooting in a neighborhood and hitting 9-year-olds, then we're not going to be like, oh yeah, just leave them in the street. Like let them keep roaming the streets. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you can't. We should expect that there's an understanding that you can't harm people. Right. But if you try to start with whoever committed that shooting, trying to get them to understand that you were wrong, or sending them to prison for 20 years, then having them come back out and think something's going to change, that's what I'm talking about, is not going to work either. Right. And at the rate we're going, we're not going to prevent future shootings, is all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Like we do not have the mechanisms in place to prevent a future shooting, to connect with the people who are currently doing the shooting. There is major substance abuse happening in these circles, right? You're talking about connecting with people whose brains are being controlled by substances, right? There is no plan to get those substances off the street, but to lock them up. I can tell you what just happened with a client of mine, trying to get them into substance abuse inpatient treatment center just a week and a half ago through Region 10. That did not go well. I have nothing nice to say about, the entire process. And I have another client who went to an inpatient facility to get help for substance abuse, and they didn't like their attitude. And so they were going to put them out on the street after hours, 2 hours away from home. So these are the type of, when people are trying to get help, the services that they need to assist them, they don't exist.
So aren't those isolated incidences though? Because we have like Uhuru, we have Home to Hope, right? We have mentoring groups, and like they do help people, right? Like, so there are services.
So this is the thing, and I'll just speak from what I know of Home to Hope, because I don't, know today what is happening with Home to Hope. I've said it on the show before. One of the things that I advocated for and got a little bit of, and I'm sure if you checked with the city manager, Home to Hope's budget that included monies for services probably hasn't increased. That budget started with $100,000 to be able to, when people came and needed assistance, that we had something other than "I hope you get that" to offer them, right? Because we know that people need assistance. If you don't have it, if you don't have the network, if you don't have a job, then and if you spent time in prison, you're probably not able to get a job and live in the city of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and take care of yourself. If the city is so concerned about how people fare after incarceration, why is that budget the same? Right? These other groups you're talking about, yes, let's say Rob goes out, Felon Fund, whoever, right? They go out and they do whatever they're able to do. How many people can they reach, and how long does it take to undo decades and decades of trauma? Like, if you're talking about kids who don't have much hope to hold on to, that their lives can be any differently. So we think this is a beautiful city. And I'm thinking of a few years ago when I was in office, the superintendent and I had a discussion over in West Haven. And one of the young men there, I asked him, "What did you dream of becoming when you were younger?" And he told me in that moment, as a 21-year-old, I think at that time, that nobody had asked him that question yet. So you take that kid, and then you want them to have dreams and hopes for a future when nobody has even asked them, what do you even, who do you think you can become?
Right.
So
thank you for that.
I just don't, it burdens, it breaks my heart that the first thing we run to is beating down the very people who've had to figure out how to survive this community, to say what they didn't do, what they shouldn't have, should have done differently, how much more resilient, how much more grit we wish they had. One of the things out of that incident, and I'm gonna talk about some people, not their names, but what I saw is people like, oh, that could have been anybody that got shot. That could have been your family, whatever. And some of the people who were saying it could have been on the other side of the gun. Right? Like, you just happened to not be on the other side of the gun in that moment. But we were quick to talk about how because you were not on the other side of that gun, that you thought you could, promote incarceration and promote, even I've seen people saying they wish people would die, like that type of thing. We don't want anyone harmed, but we also have to understand that when it could have easily been you as the person that they're talking about.
I think just in general, everyone, the community at large, needs to change their perspective on the value of life. Because it's not about everybody. It could have been everybody, right? It was, it impacted someone's life, and that should be the important part of it. And in response to your comment earlier, Charles, I do think that, yes, we do have city has a ton of local groups whose mission is to address the same issues that we're talking about here right now. But the efficacy rate of those things, the funding of those things.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here now. It went out.
Sorry about that.
And whether or not those programs work in the way that they should. Can they be tweaked? And this other problem has been addressed publicly by more than one person, which is that a lot of these organizations aren't performing to the level that they most certainly can.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an issue there too. And I'll mention one other thing, Nikuyah, before we change topics here, is that it's always surprising to me when we talk about the social determinants of health block, which we voiced one way or another, our conversation so far, where those decision makers, those who are playing a part in the end result of those determinants of health, always have questions about how did something happen, right? So as long when we intellectualize it and we talk about how education affects people and lack of education affects people, lack of housing affects people, food insecurity affects people. We talk about all these things and we got it. And then we talk about the end results of homelessness and this or crime or this or that. And then some kind of way they lose the concept of what contributed to the output of it. The results is the output. And these are people who are making decisions about individuals' lives when we get to that point, once they've been impacted by those social determinants of health and it's impacted their life in some way.
That's deep. Okay. I like that perspective. I don't think I've heard that. I don't think I've ever heard that perspective.
I've heard it. Yes.
Yeah. That's what's up. Well, thank y'all. I think this is a very rich conversation. Nikuyah, we're going to take a quick break, and then if it's cool with you, when we come back, we'll get, we'll do the last half to be very specific with like what we see that needs to be done, right? Like what is our ask? What is our request of the city, right? Of the current systematic structure, and how we think that they can make things better. Is that cool?
So my service, I'm assuming it's me now because my service went out again. So sorry for that.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah. So I don't know if you heard me. I said we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll get back to addressing, our ask of the, of our current structure and what we want to see improved. Yeah.
And I have a couple just comments about like Max was throwing out the list: education, housing, food insecurity, and and I wanted to touch base on that before we move on.
Absolutely. So let's take a quick break and we'll jump right to it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. I am HO Talk Show. Be right back. Go ahead and take your break. Tell a friend to tune in. Whatever you need to do. Be right back with none other than Nikuyah Walker.
I am HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Nikuyah Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Nikuyah Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these
IMHO Talk Show. How you feel, Miss Max?
Ms. Walker still with us?
I'm here.
All right.
Good stuff. Good
Cool.
stuff. So Nikuyah, in our last 10 minutes, I want to make sure that you go ahead and address the points you wanted to address, and then we'll leave with some marching orders, whether it be for the families or whether it be for for City Hall, right? But I'll kick it over to you to make sure that you touched on those points you wanted to make.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking back to a year and a half or so ago when the school board chair said that they can only, reach students or teach students who allow them to do so, right? And that's just, again, not how that works. Housing, I have a recent example of advocacy down at with Piedmont Housing Alliance Phase 1. I went to City Council and said, hey, we made a mistake because this contract was signed when I was on council, right? Because this isn't affordable for families, from what I'm hearing, living in Friendship Kendallwood Phase 1. Yes. The money is there, according to the city. I sent them a list of things that they could do. Kendallwood, C-Scrap, what was created under one of Wes's proposals years ago. So families wouldn't be struggling to meet their needs. And to just give you an example of this, when we talk about affordable housing, which has been a big topic throughout the city, it's based on your income. So when they said we're going to create these affordable units at 30%, 40%, 50%, they try to do the 60 to 80% because they want higher income people because they don't think low income people can live amongst themselves. But they know people are struggling. I think the last number I got that maybe 78 or so families could be affected by this. I'm understanding that the money is there. They were waiting on Sunshine from PHA to give them the numbers. That was this September 29th. So probably that evening, once I had the conversation while walking by someone talking about it was unaffordable for them to live there while at a birthday party, they were not talking to me. I got on it, trying to figure out, started going door to door, talking to families, talked to several families who were having the same issues, and it hasn't been fixed. So some of the times we think we're pouring a lot of resources into this community. What consistently is that we are giving some people middle class, upper middle class opportunities to work, to say that they're helping people, but they have no capacity to really do that. Or maybe even a desire. So if you take families living in Kendallwood Phase 1 who can't afford their rent, who should be in a 30% unit and they may be in a 60% unit, the money is sitting down at City Hall for them to supplement it. But this family has now from September and before September, but when I brought it to everybody's attention to today, not received any services. So based on logic that families just need to do better, we're going to tell those parents just go get another job and kids figure out what to do at home and soothe yourself. and you're not even going to go into an education system because if you're hungry because your mom is using all the money to pay the bills, and you didn't eat before you came to school, we still want you to figure out a way to focus. So that's the current issue.
Yeah.
All of these. Did somebody say something?
No.
Okay. That's just have all of these moving parts to it that we don't think about. Then we're sitting there to the kid who can't focus in school because all of this stuff is going on at home. And what I hear us saying a lot of time is that the parents should just do better. We know that most people can't afford to live in this community anymore, right? And that without some assistance, some kind of rent caps, which are not legal in the area through the state, that people are going to continue to struggle. But we want them to be more resilient and have more grit and figure it out, and for the kids to be stellar in school and make it to college, even if your parents should. And then we ultimately, I think, sometimes get to the question of why can't you afford your rent? Why pay people $200,000 because we know people can't afford it, right?
Yeah. So Nikuyah, what do you say to the rebuttal then? I guess what's your rebuttal to the rebuttal of that? We have to at least honor progress, right? Like for, let's say, and I have no idea what the statistic may be, but the example remains the same. For every one or two that gets pulled out of poverty, that gets, decent employment, good living wage, right? There's going to be others who didn't make it. For a second. So some would say, is there progress? Can we point to any progress? And are we asking for too much at once?
Well, I'd like to hope that no one has that exact thought, Charles, but
they do. There are some that do.
But what I do think, you're right. But what I do think that our local government as a whole, the thought they probably have is we can only do so much. Like, what is it that you're expecting us to do? We can only offer so many resources and we only have so much money. And I'm not even going to bring into the equation the budget cuts that the federal government is doing right now. So what can we do?
So, and that goes back to what are the marching orders?
Yeah.
If you look at let's go with the city council. What I saw the city council prioritizing is internal, which, I mean, I'm all for people being paid well. There's no one that can find on record where I didn't advocate or support. So I'm done, sealed, right, for that. But is that the top priority? Internally, we knew that we needed to bring the people at the bottom, like the person who had been there 28 years and who was still earning, $16, $17, right, an hour. That looked very different than the person who was there and was earning $90,000 a year and thought they should have been making $120,000 a year, right? But because the city had an issue with having that conversation, then you do this across the board thing where everybody gets an increase, right? And so, one, is there any actual leveling that ever happens to that? But two, those are resources that now have to go to keeping your staff afloat. Keeping things internal afloat. Once the pay rises, the benefits, the contributions to retirement plans, all of that changes. So I saw a lot more of that. I heard the city say we're going to get our internal house in order. What does that mean for the community? Looking at Vibrant Community Fund, looking at the Council Strategic Fund, you can go back and see how Wes and I were just like, woo, 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 with things, throw it out there and see what happens. Is that always the best? But doing nothing is not, okay. If those dollars are not changing for what investments look like. And another thing that's still happening is you have the organizations, let's say an organization like Ready Kids, who I have an issue, I've said it consistently, that over the years I have issues with organizations like that, but they have the grant writers, they have the people internally that can make sure their files in order. And now they do a great job of making sure that they go and get Black people to be the face of the organization. That does not mean that they are serving people in all of their areas well, right? So a lot of times here, we think people are getting the assistance they need, that Charlottesville is doing the thing that they need to do.
We know they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, the county doesn't even pretend. So you sprinkle their crumbs, and that's what they have been doing. But if you start looking
UVA as well, right? You could throw UVA and the county in there.
information that it is. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You can't even get me off track on that because I have to say about what has happened on there. And I'll just throw it out there since I'm here. You know, I put on Facebook that Jim Ryan is like a Sunday afternoon compared to JJ Davis. And I have a JJ Davis story about Longo being appointed to that position and what she thought, the united front that she called me for us to come to on that she is very interesting. And I would say that you can see the community interest in things die down without them thinking that this person has been beside the president of the university making critical decisions. And I would say that she's probably the one that has made a lot of the decisions that you are, you know, want to take his head off for a lot of times. And then who is asking, why are they comfortable with her if they were okay with removing him? And that goes back to what we're about, like, people don't stay in the game long enough. They're not having the crucial conversations they need to have. It's like the jail expansion. We are, I mean, room full of people outside protesting jail expansion, but you're not protesting the police chief saying he gonna lock our kids up. You're not protesting that the city council hasn't put more money into Vibrant Community Fund. You know, but you're protesting expanding a jail because in your mind, that means more people are going to go to jail when people haven't stopped going to jail.
Yeah. And Jim Ryan is a great example, like that analogy as well, because we do have to be more cognizant of being careful what we wish for, right? Because while you want to fix a system, you got to make sure that you're not making it worse at the same time. Because if you don't get what you want, then, you know, grass is always greener kind of thing. And it's like there's a lot of people who could be better than Jim Ryan, but there's a whole lot right here at our doorstep ready that could be a lot worse. You know?
I am sure that they could take your head off and not blink. I don't. Okay. And so again, we want perfection sometimes. We call for that. And again, I'm not a Jim advocate, even though I think some of the heat he got, he deserved a lot. And I gave him some of that. But a lot of times we don't think through of like why things start happening the way they happen. We are protesting why he's removed, but we again are not protesting who they feel comfortable in an interim capacity for him. We are comfortable with the city council not wanting to spend millions they didn't want to spend in the first place on jail expansion, but we are not going to follow through to make sure the money that they had committed to the jail expansion goes into some of these services we need, you know. And then you have where people just, you know, separate themselves from the outcome. I don't run Region 10. I'm not the person in charge of substance abuse services, but you want to know why you can't reach a kid who is high as a kite off of substances, and you want them to stop shooting up the neighborhood, you know, or a parent who can't focus because they've numbed out on a substance. They have nowhere to go to get assistance, but you want them to sort of, you know, do better. People don't have the mental health services they need. Wages are not increasing to the cost of living increases. Like all the things that we say that we know, we, the three of us sitting here, we know what it is to run our household, and we know what it's like when you do not have sufficient resources. Yeah, we don't go out and rob a bank, but I know my butt has sat there before like,
thought about it.
As you sat there and was like, okay, beans and rice again, you know, let me find you something green. Somebody else was like, no, I'm gonna go out here and get it. Is that what? No, but we know that people want to eat. You know,
that's right.
When the system, when I'm talking about with the system is until it changes, until we are honest about every layer where people are hindered by it. And even this thought that there's some parts of your life that isn't influenced by government. It's not true. And I was better off when I thought like that. But government decides everything from whether your streets are clean, your trash to pick up, whether you can turn your water on in your house, and who's to do that. Like the University of Virginia cannot pay water bill for 30 years, but you can go 1 month without paying it. You know, and if without paying, you know, if you go without paying it, you're somehow not a great parent. But the University of Virginia, with an $8 billion endowment, can debate about whether they start paying their water bill fully immediately or take 4 years to do it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
You know, you can negotiate like that. So I would leave us with, because I think that's what you're trying to get me to do, is for us to have more compassion and grace with people who are, for the people who have the capacity to fight the system on behalf of those who don't have the capacity to do it. And at the same time, if we don't figure out how to have a more unified fight in this community and don't take the ego out of the equation, because some people just want to be the person or the people that do a thing. If we don't figure out how to come together, and what is the Black agenda for Charlottesville, Virginia? What are we going to advocate for? I'm right now thinking of what Impact does every year, and Impact drove me crazy. But what they do have is, you have these primarily, a group of white people saying every year we're going to come with a topic. And when I tell you they don't take no, you're going to come, they're going to sit you down, they're going to grill you, not in a nice way, and tell you this is what we expect for you to do. And then when they give you their timeline and you don't do it, they're on your butt again. If we were doing that, we're considered aggressive. We're having debates about what are our responsibility, while we have this group fighting on our, on behalf of low income people. They don't do Black people, they, it's low income people. But we don't have that. We have these silos where everyone is doing a thing, but we are not necessarily coming together to do the thing. The other thing that I'm seeing is, I think we replace like the need for joy, but that takes up a considerable amount of our time. And we do need joy, and I'm all about joy. But we have to do more than think that just providing a kid a fun experience on a Saturday is going to fill them for school for the week.
That's right.
And we got lost somewhere there too.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Or give them what they need to matriculate through life.
Yeah.
And but I feel like that we would be remiss though if we didn't at least allow you to address DEI being under attack, because I feel like that's the culmination of this conversation. Just if you could touch on quickly on, if the city is faced, though, because we don't know what the state house is going to look like. We know what the federal house is going to look like for maybe another 3 years. So if there is significant cuts, right, then how should we address? Like, if money becomes even bigger issue, because folks are saying you can't say you're doing this for Black people.
Yeah.
Before you respond to, I just want to say something else to your last comment. So if nothing changes, our situation as a Black community here in the city of Charlottesville stays the same or gets worse. We don't find a way to work together. If we don't advocate for those who need it and love on those who need it as well, nothing changes,
well, it does change. I mean, you at the rate that we're going now, small, probably elite class of Black people who live within the city limits. And they will probably make, Black people look good and great and excellent. And the rest of us will be somewhere else. And there will be a community to really talk about. You'll just have plaques up on a wall saying Black people used to be here. That's where we're headed. Change.
Okay. All right.
Then we should take real quick about DEI changes and how we address these specific issues when they're telling us that we can't specify these specific people.
Well, the city will fit right into there. When I started to get the deputy city manager position, we named that position racial equity, diversity, and inclusion, wanting to make sure that the racial piece and people understand that there was a major race issue in the city of Charlottesville. That was changed maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, something like that, to the Office of Social Equity. So the city will fit right in. The city has been challenged before this current group of leaders and why they had such a hard time with me and people who were really like pro-Black and openly talked about Blackness and our amazing, not just because there's amazing things happening in Charlottesville to other than, you know, the shootings. They didn't want to hear that everybody had a right to get to this place of where they were doing well and experiencing joy and all of that. It was hard for them. So I don't think the city will have a challenge not talking about it. Now, there are some things that they're doing, but even if we go back to housing, when I would make statements like Black people used to fill these neighborhoods and now they don't, where are they? I would get met with responses from some people who are current leaders in the city that like the All Lives Matter response, all of our citizens need housing. When I would say that Black people were moved down on housing lists so that refugee families could come in and live, not that I don't think that they don't, you know, they need a place to live, but should you have moved the Black people who were struggling down on a list to there are people who are still like today that I've been on this list for decades? No, that is okay. And the leaders in town made those decisions on who to prioritize for housing. And that's at Friendship Court and that's at CRHA. So we're not even talking about private housing. So you go through a neighborhood and the majority of people are not Black and you say, where did the Black people go, when you're met with a response that all people deserve housing, without acknowledging that leaders in this town made sure that Black people were not included in that all, that's a problem. So I will say the city does better than most, but if I had to rank where the city was at on, you know, that list, it wouldn't be very high. The city has a lot of work to do. They floor in pretense more than the actual doing of a thing. And they may do a thing to say they're doing a thing, but they don't do a thing fully, you know? So
we got you.
Now there are, I mean, the police chief just made a bold statement about not working with ICE. That's going to get, you know, some more attention. We know Charlottesville was mentioned during the last election cycle. So Charlottesville has been, on the radar, but back to the city council, what those leaders need to make decisions about is that there are pots of money in the city that they don't want to touch because it's reserved. So they have to make a decision, like if it comes down to our most vulnerable struggling or tapping into these reserves, will we do it? The city loves their AAA bond rating. And I'm sure the city manager don't want to be the city manager that the bond rating drops for the first time. But if you are concerned about a bond rating over whether your people struggle the most for council or the city manager, which means that you're prioritizing, like basically it's like just to, you know, for public terms, if your credit score 800 and you're like, I'm not touching that, even if your credit usage lowers your score, you're like, I'm not going to touch that because I'm not going to feed my family with that because I don't want my credit score to drop. Essentially, just a quick example of what that would mean for the city to say, oh, we're going to keep this bond rating and we're not going to exceed this percentage. People are out there starving. They can make a decision and let that bond rating dip. They can make a decision to, tap into some of their reserves. They can make a decision to put some of the internal programs and pay increases on hold, for a while. They can make a decision to not pave some streets and do some sidewalks, not make the city, trashy and look, you can still do upkeep, but sidewalking, right? They're going to have to make a decision to prioritize people and figure out how to stay afloat. And I don't have any faith that they'll do that well.
Well, the perceived problem with that is that everybody has a need. And so for you to not do my sidewalk is just as important as you helping to provide someone with housing, right? At least that's what the type of things that we hear. Out of curiosity, Nikuyah, I wanted to ask, I know the police chief has been in what some would be fully engaged with like the local community and doing walkthroughs, knocking on doors, talking to families. talking about their needs and wants out of their local law enforcement system. And I'm just curious of whether or not you and the police chief have ever engaged. Have you had a sit down where you can share some of your opinions or ideas of how we might have a better police department in terms of community engagement, and what the feedback was if that happened?
Yeah, so I have met with the police chief, and I guess our conversation was somewhat, I mean, I have pleasant conversations with people. I'm a pleasant person, even though that I did challenge him. I challenged even on, I mean, from the beginning, like why this position is even open for you to be here. His connection with the university and Longo, and what I think, I mean, I wasn't there, but speculate even got the position. So we had some very hard conversations. Then Chief Brackney left amazing, trail for someone to follow. So he has her work there that he can follow. What my main concerns have been for him is this very open, confident statements about locking our kids up when we know there's a problem. He did immediately start, using the language of like advocating that this doesn't begin with the police department. It shouldn't end with the police department type thing, that more things have to happen. But at the same time, you can go back and look at how many people have been arrested, during this time period. I wish the other day when I saw his statement on ICE, I wish it made a statement about not participating in mass incarceration with Black bodies in the same way. That's not saying that Hispanic people who are really participating in criminal behaviors can run free. He said that we, the city of Charlottesville, will not do as ICE is instructing. Basically, I don't have his full statement there, but I read, the article. He didn't say that criminals can be criminals and get away with it. He made a statement like, this is not our job to do. And so I wish people would take those kind of stances with understanding that if you took that same position about the criminal justice system and how it has used Black bodies to fill prisons, then you would not be saying in that instance, let criminals run free, let people shoot up the neighborhood. You would say that it is not my priority to lock people up. You would not be advocating for increases in your budget. You would be advocating for increases in human services budget.
That's right.
You would then be holding them accountable. You wouldn't be giving police oversight board slack about, transparency with you. You would be giving them free reign to monitor. You would be expanding on some of the things like the Fourth Amendment analyst that Chief Brackney put in place, and you wouldn't have hired back officers that she fired or demoted. So there are all of things, and your officers wouldn't feel comfortable like they did over in the Prospect area yesterday, ruffling up a young Black man over some damn tags.
True that. Hey.
Comfortable. So he has a lot of work to do. He's pleasant. People like him. I've heard people comment, I've said this before, on how he looks. I care nothing. How are Black people doing under his leadership? And are we setting the same scene for people to talk about their fathers were in prison, their mothers were in jail, and they had no hope when they're a kid, and expect them to have, some hope as adults? That's what we focus on. And if we are fighting against jail expansion, we shouldn't be in a picture hugging him. We shouldn't be letting him toss a football to our kids, getting them to trust a system that we know that they can't trust. And we would be holding them accountable. And then if you like him after you hold him accountable, smile at him or something. But people are missing big about on that accountability piece. And then they're wanting again to push it on families, or the saddest part that I've seen in the last few years, which is what the schools did a few years ago, when they wanted to hold the youth accountable. They allowed the media to spread the narrative about all the wrongs that were going on in the school system were Black kids and that Black kids were incapable of learning, and so they could just push them out into any old thing.
Well, Nikuyah, we got to run, but thank you so much. This has been deep, a wealth of knowledge.
That's
and
right.
Very rich conversation. And I think what I love about it is that I feel like that we hit it from all angles. We had all the perspectives because this is simple but yet complex, right? Like we can say what should be done and we can know what should be done, but then how do we administer it?
That's right.
So that's why we always appreciate you.
And I got worked up.
Oh, we got you worked up. Sorry, I didn't want to do it. Hey, look, we're going to let you go so you can enjoy your Sunday, right? Yeah. No, our lines are always open. I always appreciate you. So till next time, keep up the great work. Keep causing good trouble, Nikuyah.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, Black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More Black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about.
IMHO Talk Show. You already know what it is. Charles.
Right, Max.
And we are here once again. So yeah, so let your people know, because once again we are kicking the actual factuals, and we have good peoples with us right about now. You know, like per usual, Max. Like, you know, for somebody to get on our platform, either they just underwriting or they actually got something good to say. And these folks, they got something good to say, and they are such an asset to the community. And they have such great people working over in the Prospect neighborhood, Cville, all the, you know, all areas in between there. None other than the Abundant Life Ministries. And good afternoon to y'all.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
We have none other than Mr. Eddie Howard and Miss Faith Kelly. So like I said, appreciate y'all for all the great work that you all are doing within the community and for the community. But for those that may be new to your names or like to your ministry, go ahead and sort of formally introduce yourselves and the role that you play through Abundant Life.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. I am Faith Kelly, and I'm the Director of Advancement and Communications at Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries.
All right. Good afternoon. And again, thanks for having us here. My name is Eddie Howard. I'm the Executive Director of Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministry by way of that's the community I grew up in.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's always good to be home, right?
Always good to be home.
Yeah. So good stuff. So now Abundant Life Ministries, you know, once again, for those, I'm sure plenty have heard the name, right? But there could be somebody listening that's just not familiar with it in the role that you all play in the community. So go ahead and give us, you know, a little history and you know, just an overview of the mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Abundant Life Ministries has been in the Prospect Avenue community this is our 29th year of being in the Prospect Avenue community, serving the geographical location that includes not only Prospect Avenue, but Bailey Road, Orangedale, Greenstone on the 5th, as well as Rock Creek Road. And we have been in the community doing programs.
Okay.
We have our tutoring program. We have spiritual enrichment programs. We have mentorship programs. We also have a newly enlisted V-Trades program, vocational education program, which allows our youth to be introduced as young as 5th grade to vocational careers, as well as being a funnel for our adults to vocational careers that they might not have known about. And just trying to eliminate the stigma behind furthering your education and things that may not be open to our community or they may not feel like is open to them. So our V-Trades program is really instrumental in that community and just allowing our community to be furthered, to really hone in on empowerment is what the grounds and the basis of Abundant Life is outside of relationship building, and relationship building allowed people like Eddie to be here leading us just from him being invested in as a community member, as staff, and then coming back as executive director.
Nice.
And the biggest focus for Abundant Life is community empowerment. Our motto is we don't go wide, we go deep. And so with that being said, you know, we try to, you know, come along beside the community, listen to the community, see what the community want, see what the community know, and then we'll try to help them move forward in that thing. And then the saying is, at the end of the day, if we can do all these things and put this together, they can say they did it for themselves.
There you go. That's good stuff. So I like that. You don't go wide, you go deep. And I heard you know, Faith even you know, like lay out sort of the like a geographical reach. So how does that play though when it comes to serving the city? Like when you kind of hit the boundary of your jurisdiction, right? Like how do you work with other organizations within the city?
Well, we partner with great many organizations, City of Charlottesville, Charlottesville Public Schools, Ready Kids, New City Counseling, Computer for Kids, MRC, and a lot of different churches, Trinity, First Prayers, Good Shepherd, and I can go on and on. But we partner with those outside of the geographical location because it's their support to help us do what we do. And then you take, for instance, like in our tutoring program, we tutor in Johnson School, Beaufort School, Walker School. We have a mentoring program in the high school. But like if teachers or counselors or principals, whatever, say, hey, look, I got a child that is struggling, we would love to get them into your tutoring program. We won't turn them down. But the piece to that is, okay, we have to find a tutor because we actually do one-on-one tutoring. And we find that that's effective. We have a lesson planner that plan lessons for each kid according to their weaknesses and their strengths. And so just try to help to develop them. Faith talk about relationships. One of the greatest things you see is when a tutor have followed a kid from kindergarten all the way through adulthood, and then they might separate. And years later, you see them come back together and just rejoice in the fact that they had that support or they able to see that person. And so the biggest part for us is relationship, because out of them relationships is what make us able to do what we do.
That actually leads into a comment that I was going to make, because if you've been here 29 years, that's quite a long time. And so you have had the opportunity to see someone from childhood grow up potentially through your ministry and participate in it. And so you, I'm sure, have success stories of those who
multiple success stories. I'm a abundant life success story all in myself.
Yeah.
There you go.
How so? Can I ask?
Yeah. In 99, when I got out the penitentiary, trying to find my way, trying to figure out who I am, trying to put it all together, saying, I don't want to go back, but where's the support at? And it just so happened Abundant Life being in the community, and by the way of the director at that time, kind of like embraced me, and I started volunteering. Then I came on staff, stayed on staff for almost 8 years. And so they actually helped give me direction. And then to be able, I moved out of Charlottesville, stayed 15 years, moved to Chesapeake, and then got the call like, hey, we're looking for executive director. And I'm thinking, they might have made the wrong phone call, right? But so in coming back and just really, people saying, what better testament and what better testimony is for a ministry like this to be able to bring one of his own back and lead it, and then having them relationships, because from youth to adulthood, I was part of the Prospect Avenue community, and to be able to come back and the community embrace me, knowing my history, and they embrace me and being able.
But also testimony.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful, because we hear that quite a bit, of the importance of somebody being from Charlottesville, not just from Charlottesville, but from a particular community, right?
Absolutely.
And then when you mentor or you give back, there's like an added bonus and appeal to the person that's doing that mentoring, right? Like to actually like understand you,
absolutely,
because they've been there before, right? Like so. Can you just touch on that, on how that feels? Because, especially when people today are talking about like, how do we reach Gen Z? How do we, like, the kids don't listen? Like, but they say the same thing about that in our generation. So we didn't listen.
They say the same thing about me. You know what I'm saying? Let me just be honest. Not only he didn't listen, there's no hope for him, right? And I'm gonna give you a testimony of a young man when I came back. He was in the program when I was program coordinator in the early 2000s, and he found out I came back, and he coached one of the schools in Charlottesville, and he came to me, and in Charlottesville, I'm known as Bubby, right? And he said, Bubby, man, when you was leading the program, I was in the program. He said, I couldn't stand you. Like, cause I always knew you was gonna go tell my mom on me, right? And he was like, but I want to thank you.
There you go.
Listen, that's the most humbling time when you see that. Another testimony, I watch a mother and a kid over in Johnson School when I first came back, graduating from the 4th grade, going to the 5th grade, from lower elementary to upper elementary. And that mother and that tutor stood in the middle of that aisle and just cried and embraced. Listen, I'm talking about going from the 4th grade to the 5th grade, as if they walked across that high school stage. Them the things that really touched my heart. That's why, I continue to try to push in. I continue to try to lead my staff, impart wisdom in them. Listen, this is a smart generation.
Yeah.
I came through high school in the 70s. So I don't know half of what they know. But I say to them all the time, you're smarter than me. I can give you some wisdom. And then you can figure out how to put it together.
Right.
And I believe in leading from the bottom up.
Yeah.
That's what I believe in. So yeah.
Okay.
That is awesome.
And just, I'm sorry, as a point of clarity, Abundant Life Ministries is just an organization that provides these services, or you have a church where you have Sunday service, or you have service during the week, and how does that all work?
So we are actually considered an urban ministry, which
Okay.
is a term that I recently become to know.
I was born 1980. Go ahead,
Yeah,
break it down.
this year.
Baptist Church
So we
in the
are
country.
we're a faith-based organization.
Okay.
We are a nonprofit. We fully operate as a nonprofit.
Okay.
Our structure is faith-based.
Okay.
Not all of our programs are, though. So our tutoring program, in partnership with the Charlottesville City Schools, which is a partnership that we've had for over 15 years, that allows our ministry and our organization to come into the schools and to tutor our kids on site in the schools, have relationships with the teachers, being able to get their assessments, their MAP scores, their SOL scores, so that those lesson plans can be built. Those are not faith-based. We do not require volunteers to be faith-based, but our core principles as staff and as the ministry are faith-based.
Okay.
And we truly believe that if it had not been for God allowing us
that's right.
to open the door for the ministry, we would not have been in the Prospect Avenue for as long as we have. It is truly an honor to be his hands and feet in the Prospect Avenue community and be able to serve people that may not think like us or may not have that same value or that same belief as us, but to be able to look out on the people and to have compassion on them is just such a beautiful experience, and it's an honor.
Do you
That
have
is
other
so
locations across the state, or
Max, before they answer that though, that is so, I don't want to overlook what she said,
Mhm.
because to me, like, that's what embodies like a true, believer of Jesus. Like
Right.
that's what true, like
That's what it's all about.
a true child of God.
Yeah.
Of meeting people at their knees,
Yeah.
not trying to make them be
That's
like
right.
you and think like you
Not
necessarily,
proselytizing.
but you meet them at their
We
knees.
have many cultures that come to us. We have many different faith backgrounds that are part of our program. They trust us. They feel safe. They send our kids. Like this summer, at any time, we have 40 kids. We feed 2 times a day in connection with the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank. They give us the food. We feed them. We feed them breakfast. We feed them lunch. And we have K-HIP volunteers. And they're interns for the city that come in and they're part of us. We have 10 of them. And so they oversee things. And we're not asking what your faith. We're not asking what you believe in. We're saying, come in, be a part. And if my walk before you make you want to find out why we do what we do, and that's the opportunity to just say why we do, and what drive us,
Yeah, let your life speak for itself.
That's right. Let your life speak for itself. And that's what it's all about with Abundant Life. Many programs that Faith talked about, like even with the recent stuff that was going on over down in Orangedale with the shooting, connecting with UVA Health, connecting with Region 10, connecting with Ready Kids, New City Counseling, and parents calling, that they want to talk to somebody or they want to get their kids talking to somebody. And we connecting the resource. And we're making sure that our community is getting the things that they need to move forward. Again, I said, it's about community empowerment. And that's how you empower them. Help them meet them needs. And then, we move forward.
That's right. Love it. I think Max was asking about if you have other locations.
Yes.
So we are geographically located in the city of Charlottesville. But as Eddie might have touched on, because the city of Charlottesville believes, the city, Charlottesville City Schools believes in our program so much, we often get referrals from teachers that will allow students that may not geographically live in our served community to receive our tutoring services. And then from there, if they're able to become acclimated in our other programs, that's great too. But we try not to turn down any kids, any families. But we're thankful for the schools that allow us to do that and really believe in what we're doing. They're seeing a difference in the kids that do come so that more can receive the help that they need.
And we are the only location. But we have like sister ministries actually all across the United States.
Okay.
They're doing the things that we do. We go through the CCD values as Christian Community Development, their values and their principle, and we meet once a year at certain cities. Like next year, the conference is going to be in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
And it's over 1,000 organizations and churches that come to these conferences and have workshops, and we learn from one another. So even though Abundant Life Ministry do not have other locations, we have connections. We can do referrals, different cities. So you know, we really do try to, you know, partner, you know, as much as we can. So I mean, I have people from like Tidewater will call and say, hey, I live in Norfolk. Do you know any resources down here? I'm like, let me give you a call back. Then I start making phone calls. Go over here to this organization, or go over here to this faith-based ministry, and just make the connections.
There you go.
And that's what makes us one.
Willing
to work with one another.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now, are there other locations around the area that provide free breakfast, lunch, or meals for youth?
There are food banks are connected with other locations throughout Charlottesville. I think the city schools do it. I think Parks and Rec do it. We were certified to do it. They come in, take a look at our building. The fire marshal come in. We have to get certified. We have to get certified through the health department to make sure we are able to do the. And that's during the summer for 6 weeks. And we offer aftercare during the summer from 12 to 4. Parents that can't pick their kids up, they come. We charge them $3 a day for the first kid, $2 a day for the second kid, and $1 a day for the third kid. You got 3 kids, you pay us $5 a day for aftercare for your
That's
kids.
amazing.
And that's trying to provide, you know. And then during the fall in school, we have our after school enrichment programs, and we feed kids every program. That's not a program we don't have that we don't feed the children.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I asked. Because of course, like my mind goes to the Black Panthers. To be honest with you, in the 70s,
the feeding program. That's right.
Yeah, you from the 70s, so you know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
So, but yeah, because that was just so powerful because they saw the results from that. Of that, if a child has a warm, safe place to go, like you know, to get their nutrition.
Absolutely.
Their mind works better.
That's right.
And they're not just wandering hungry.
Nutrition is all about,
you know,
nutrition is connected to education. You go to school hungry, you're not learning it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, you say Black Panther, you know, a lot of people don't know that acupuncture, they started that back in the 70s for when the heroin addiction was. And
Talk about it.
So you know, there are so many things that happens out here that we really don't know about, you know. And when I think about everything that happened in our community, people say, what are you all doing to be a safe haven? Well, Monday after the incident, we probably had more youth come that Monday than we had
voluntarily just show up
because the parents probably saying, okay, listen, I need you to go to Abundant Life. And they can go to work and know that them kids in a safe place, because you know retaliation is real in Charlottesville. Gun violence is real in Charlottesville. And so we just try to be that avenue. Abundant Life is safe space. You know, we say to the community, you know, please don't bring your incidents here. This is safe haven right here. And so that's what we try to be. We oversee the kids. We make sure they're in a controlled environment, and we'll set up. And saying that, you know, we really. Actually, right now, we can't start another program. We can't take another participant. We bulging at the seam right now, you know. And we are over 100 families. How many volunteers? This the magic.
Over 100 volunteers a year, whether it be one time or continuum. We have so many returning volunteers. So many testimonies of volunteers following students throughout, as Eddie was talking about. So many volunteers that don't just see their mentee or their 2D on the day that they're assigned to. Really speaking to that relationship building that Abundant Life really focuses on and is the center and the core of what we do.
Yeah. So, and we're going to take a break soon, and we want to get back so we can close talking about the concert. I know we got to leave time to make sure people, because that's a pretty important fundraiser as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, so one, you know, you're going to be ministered to, you know, through the Gospel Explosion Community Concert. But before we do that, and Max, I don't know if you had anything else on this topic, but I think that's a great segue of what Mr. Howard was just saying, because I wanted to ask, like, what are you all's requests of the city, right? And not just the city, but it could be philanthropists, right?
Absolutely.
You know, like you talk about bulging at the seams and things like that, and you have these important programs, but they need to be sustainable.
Absolutely.
And one other caveat, I don't know how true it is, or if it's been brought to your attention, but I even heard people say that the 4th of July shooting in Orangedale was partially due to that the streets aren't lit enough, so people are able to hide, and if you're wearing all black, like they say the young men were, so so even things like that, like it's somebody petitioning to the city saying, hey, we need more street lights, but just if there's a call for folks listening, like what is it that you need? What's prioritized?
Would you like to talk about that, Faith? Or you looked at me with the eyes. Okay. Well, just the support, again, you talk about street lights, you talk about, making sure that our neighborhood is important on the list when it comes to activities for the kids, not just through Abundant Life, Parks and Rec, what is it they bring to the table? How do they make sure that our kids have ample things to do? I will say with us, City of Charlottesville, for its resources, we get grant money from them. We get grant money from a lot of different organizations, CACF, churches. But the biggest need, I think, for our community is for us to come together and come up with our plan.
There you go.
And what make us safe. I'm a believer that we can do it for ourselves, and then we can get that outside support to support what we say is a positive environment. Start moving forward on things. What can we do together? I just feel, our urban community is fractured in such a big way that if we, as when some of my former participants, they call me OG, right? If us OGs can't come together and figure this thing out,
that's right,
we're gonna continue to be in trouble.
That's right.
So what are we offering our youth? In a way of positive reinforcement, and that's what we're there to try to do. And we're always open to conversation on what we can do, and how we can help. But resources is important. Our budget is over $600,000 a year, and we're always raising money every year because we're nonprofit. And you're planting into good soil. And we steward money well. My staff is great about going out, getting in-kind donations to get their programs to a place that, it can be sustainable and not, and our budget don't take a big hit. So, and again, I must say the City of Charlottesville, as far as Abundant Life Ministry, I would say have been kind of in many different ways.
Good. Anything you want to add to that, Faith? Because it sounds like he's saying more money. More money. We'll take care
Show
of the rest.
me the money.
But I don't know if structurally it was anything you want to add.
I mean, I second that. I'm thankful for the donors that we do have. We have individual donors that have been giving for years. Just believing in what we're doing. Churches that have been giving and planning in for years. So we're thankful for that, but do not hear that we're still a nonprofit.
And just to add to that, about 80% of our donor base is individuals.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that talk about
That's
the
good.
relationship. We have individuals that believe in what we do.
Yeah. Look, you got me believing right here. Right now. I think it's wonderful what you're doing in the community. I'm so glad to hear that those parents knew where to send their kids in the days following that event, and that you guys were there and prepared to welcome them in.
That's right.
I think one of the takeaways, though, is you don't wait until there's a tragedy to send them someplace
You can say
someplace
that again.
good, right? And I certainly want to thank you for all that you've been doing. It's another point I wanted to make. It slipped my mind, but
you good.
But so I was gonna talk about. We had a conversation before you came on. We spoke to a former mayor of Charlottesville about the state of the city, and if you will, strategizing about how we change that, at least for the Black community. And while those things need to be done and they are necessary, I personally believe that what we're dealing with right now will only be fixed or made better if we're putting the Lord first. And so I just want to say that adds extra impact to what it is that you're providing. So I understand that while you don't encourage people, one faith or the other to people, it is at least accessible, right? And you're touching young minds and giving them something that they can carry with them.
And we do that through our enrichment programs. We do, life skills based around biblical principles. And so why we it's a fine line to separate church and state, and so we have our internal programs. We have Bible club. Our kids go to VBS during the summer, our K through 4th. They for 6 straight weeks go to different churches throughout Charlottesville, and that also give them a connection to the different cultures, to the different approaches to their belief. So why parents do send them, parents do understand, that we are a Christian-based ministry. And then we have parents that come and want to sit down and talk about it. So we don't put a cloak over, and anybody that knows Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministry know that, we're driven by our faith.
That's right.
And I had, they had did a walkthrough with grant we was going from. They came from walkthrough, and one of the people that was in charge of approving the grant or not, he said, Eddie, I've watched Abundant Life for many years, and one thing I can say to you all is you do a good job of separating one from the other. He said, I don't know how you do it, but you do a good job. I wanted to say Jesus do it.
Jesus take the wheel. That's all that counts. Yeah, thank y'all. But faith, the Abundant Life presents Gospel Explosion Community Concert, August 9th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the historical Jefferson School. All right. On this flyer, you say bring blankets and lawn chairs. All right. All right. So this is going to be in the yard then. It's not inside.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be in the courtyard of the historic Jefferson School. Can't do this without mentioning Kimberly Sheffield and Bernard at the Bernard Wissett at the Jefferson School Foundation that has brought this gospel concert to their front doors, right? Very early in our relationship with Kimberly, we were, before she even knew about the gospel concert, we had sat down with her for another reason, and she mentioned that her vision and her goal is to bring meaningful events and cultural events to the Jefferson School. And I think both of our light bulbs in our heads went off and like, oh my goodness, we had a gospel concert last year. What a perfect location to host it at this year.
It's a community affair.
Yeah, it's a community event. All are welcome. You don't have to be a believer. It's a great time to be amongst one another. And I think in the wake of Friday's events like yesterday's Prospect Day, events like the Healthy Streets, Healthy People, what went on at Tonsler, events like the gospel concert. It's such a wonderful time to call the city back to what we believe in, and that's unity and standing on unity together as a community. So the event will be headlined by a Southern gospel group, Ruby and the Girls. Returning back to our stage would be Harry Bryant and the Virginia Boys, the Spirits of Joy, and Denise and the Traveling Airs, all very regional gospel groups and great collectives coming together and really just coming for us, just for us, for our community. So we're looking forward to it.
So I was going to say, I also saw somewhere about there being a Christian comedian. Is that a different event?
That might be a different event.
Okay.
Unless you want to count me.
It's
a comedian.
I do want to shout out to Cliff, who's the drummer for Harry Bryant and the Virginia Boys, because when I came back, a friend of his family, and he said, again, they call me Bubby. He's like, Bubby, let us do a gospel concert for y'all. Let us do a benefit for you all. And out of him coming to me, this gospel concert, this is our second one. And so I do want to shout out to, him and Harry Ryan, the Virginia Boys, who really saying, we want to do this for you all. And that's what it's all about. When you got people coming to you and say, let us help you, That's an awesome statement.
Yes,
So I just want to make sure that I throw that
thank
out
you for
there.
that. Yeah, and I also, Faith made me think about the fact that this is August 9th, and it's a gospel explosion, and it's sort of like an unofficial kickoff to the Soul of Cville. Because Soul of Cville starts the next day on August 10th. So so I'm sitting here like kind of like overjoyed, like my bones, my bones like Ezekiel's bones, right?
Fire in your bones. Well, and I want to say this, like last year we had it at X-Park, and that was the goal. Kicking off right in front of Soul of Cville and just kind of merge right into that big event at Charlottesville. And that's how we and I'll be honest, we kind of strategize like, how do we help kick that event off, bringing people together? So I think it's an awesome kickoff.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're gonna have food trucks. Looks like $15 a ticket. You can purchase those at the gate or online.
Yes.
Right. So so if they want to get them in advance, how do they reach you?
Yeah, so the tickets are available on Eventbrite. You can also find that on our Facebook page as well. To go to our Facebook events, and you'll find the Eventbrite link.
Okay.
And also on our website. It's also linked on our website, and some more information about the event as well.
Okay.
I would give you Faith's phone number, but I might not make it out the building.
Please do not call me.
Yeah, she said proper channels. Yeah. Miss Max, you got anything else? This is awesome. Faith or Eddie, any closing words?
Yeah. We're just so thankful for the opportunity to come and share abundant life with you all, with your listeners, as well as we look forward to seeing you all there at the gospel concert, and maybe volunteers or however that may stem from here. But we're just so thankful to be able to come and share and have this platform to allow God to get the glory for the work that He has sent us to do in the community. So we're thankful.
Thank you for being a light.
Well, I first of all, I want to say, Charles, you and Max, you are a light in our community.
Appreciate you, sir.
And you bring a lot to the table, and I want to thank you all first. For what you do.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for having us. You do more maybe than what you even realize you do just by coming on and being that voice for the community, with the community, through the community. And that's an honor for me to be here and being the president of someone that have a heart for have a heart for their community. And I want to say to Charlottesville, thank you. Abundant Life Ministry is there. If you want to figure out how to partner with us, you want to volunteer with us, if you want to support us monetarily, we really steward our money well. Our books is open. We do impact reports every year, and you can see exactly where your money going. And for all our supporters, thank you.
That's awesome. Right. Thank you, sir. And definitely take that in the same spirit it was given, man, because to hear that from an outstanding brother like yourself, definitely appreciate it. And you two are inspirations as well.
That's right.
I remember when Faith was born, so she's definitely inspiration.
I was going to say, thank you, Uncle Charles.
Uncle Charles. Whoa.
Okay. That's how far back
full
we
circle,
go.
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she went to school with my son, and her grandmother babysitted the younger one. So that's how
I
far
hear
back
great
we go.
things about your son.
Yes, right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
military, Marine. Okay, right. Well, put it out there, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, the word say, let another man praise you. So,
Thank you, Miss Max. We good?
We're good. Thank you again for sharing your time with us here on this Sunday. We'll be right back, family. Stay with us.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles.
And Miss Max.
That's right, in the booth in the building one
That's
more
right.
again. You can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and that is a great, grand idea, right? Because we got yet another segment for you to where we celebrating our people and we are informing. Because Max, you know, like during the break, we were just talking about the need for a community calendar, and that has been brought up a lot. But you know, I think that even harkens back to our conversation with Nikuyah, like when you if you knew better, you do better. And we gotta, just want to work together, right? Because we, can't just always complain.
That's right.
But we got to do better when we can. So if we could centralize this thing, that would be so beautiful. And if that was to happen, I can't think of another better champion than Kimberly Sheffield in the building, the Director of Community Engagement for the Jefferson School Foundation. How you doing, Kimberly?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Happy Sunday.
There you
Happy
go.
Sunday.
Yes, indeed.
God is good.
All the time.
All the time he is.
He is good. Come on, Max, where you at?
No, I'm listening to y'all because you came prepared to preach today.
Hey, that's right. I'm loving it. Yeah, and because one thing that does my heart glad about this, why it's so exciting again, because the Jefferson School itself, for those that don't know the history of it, such a pillar, cornerstone, an historic place in our community. Another one of those things, Max, to where you don't know what you got till it's gone. Right. So that's why you want to support it and stay engaged.
Realize
right?
value.
That's right. So as we always start, Kim, because there is somebody listening that just does not know about the foundation and what it does. So go ahead and just give your 30-second stump speech about the Jefferson School Foundation.
Don't give us the stump speech. Give us what this place has become to you in the time you've been working there.
Max says she got time today.
Okay. The Jefferson School Foundation owns, operates, and manages the Jefferson School, the historic Jefferson School, which is now called the Jefferson School City Center.
Okay.
The building is one of my favorite places to be. It's a building full of nonprofit organizations that are doing impactful work in the community. And what the Jefferson School Foundation is doing is preserving and sustaining the historic Jefferson School. So we've got all of that going on under one roof. And did I tell you I love that place? Love it.
You did. And that's awesome. I mean, it's awesome to love your work, right?
Yeah.
It makes it a little easier when you love what you do.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. So that being said, Kimberly, what brings you here today? Like what's new? What's new?
Well, this year we welcomed a new tenant, Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority.
Really?
Shout out to John Sales and Kathleen Matthews. I am super excited to have them in the building. They are really doing impactful work in the community. And we're getting ready to say farewell to one of our tenants. Pearl Island will be leaving the building this fall. So, I want to cry, but we are super excited about what direction they're going in, and I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah. Well, shouts out
New
to them.
information to me all the way around. So, okay.
No, but such a pertinent, another great asset to the community. So yeah, definitely looking forward to next stages there. And so besides that, like we started talking off about a calendar though. So as far as like the outlook for 2025, so that's what's new sort of structurally, right?
Yep.
But what's new calendar wise? What should people go ahead and lock it in for this year?
Well, Faith Kelly and Eddie were just up here talking about their gospel benefit concert that happens on August 9th. The Botanical Garden of Piedmont is hosting its art festival, and I want to give a shout out to Botanical Gardens. They donated an art rail system, which means that the city center is now going to be able to host more art festivals, do more temporary art installations, and it's all in the same hallway as Sanctuary of Souls. So we were definitely blessed for that donation. So their event will happen September 4th and 5th. The Jefferson School is co-hosting a holistic wellness event, which will happen September 16th through the 18th. We have a lot of partnering organizations at the table, including Bank of America, their financial mobile center. So we're looking at things holistically: mind, body, spirit, finances, and how all of those things play a part in making great financial decisions or not making great financial decisions. So we're excited about that. And then last but not least, we have our mega blood drive. Last year we did a blood drive, but this year we're partnered with 8 other organizations that's going to do a sickle celebration, and that's on September 20th. So we are hoping to get African-American donors to come out, donate blood. This is life-saving work.
That's right.
Oh, and then on August 21st, we're going to have an informational session. Mary Coleman is going to come give a presentation about the importance of African-American donors coming and donating blood and this life-saving work.
Yeah, that is awesome. So what are you like most excited about though? Because I hear some things that are recurring, some, long-standing relationships, but like what's fresh to you this year?
What I'm most excited about is just the relationships that have been created and cultivated, relationships that have been strengthened, relationships that have been reconnected. And every time I look up, there's something new happening at the Jefferson School, and I'm excited about that. I missed Juneteenth this year, but I hear it was an amazing event.
Yeah,
I'm just excited about us utilizing the space more frequently, and I want to see events brought to the school. So if you have an idea or if there's something you feel like you want to see happen at the Jefferson School, reach out. I'm definitely open to hearing ideas.
All right, awesome. And then that community and engagement as well. Like, are there some steps there that you're looking to do this year? I guess sort of lessons learned. For people who want to reach out to to maybe host an event. Like, have there been any lessons learned in regards to maybe some steps that you want to take, or that you even have an ask of the community about maybe how we can better engage?
Well, I think let's go back to what we were originally talking about. The city of Charlottesville absolutely needs a community calendar, just to ensure that we're not scheduling things on the same day, that we're able to support everyone. I hate to see when we as a community have 3 and 4 events on one day, and it's great events and it's events we all want to support, but we're strapped. So I would say as a community, we definitely have to come together and create a community calendar.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that, but can I push back at one point?
Yeah.
So one point though is that the flip side is that folks will say that not for everybody, so I don't really see the issue exactly being that there's multiple things to do sort of at once, as long as it's sort of different. And I totally get that. Yeah, things can you're absolutely right. Things could be done more strategically, and especially strategically placed on on our calendars and whatnot, but at the same time, if there was like one event on a day, people be like, either I don't want to go to that, or why don't I have options? Like, why is there only one thing to do? So yeah, so I but you're right though. I think we can do a lot better in a lot of regards, but hey, people say it's not enough to do. So, and then when there's a lot to do, they say there's too much to do.
Yeah. My thoughts are maybe the Visitors Bureau could manage. Some of the organizations within the Jefferson schools submit their calendar events to them, and they manage that information if the school itself didn't have one. So yeah.
Interesting. Cool.
I'm gonna jot that down.
Yeah.
See, I told you she was the one for it. So.
I'm gonna add that to the list of things to accomplish.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, Ms. Kimberly, like any other words for us? Any other aspects of the community? Anything we didn't cover?
No. I think that's it. We've got an action-packed summer planned at the Jefferson School. Come out, support. Especially that blood drive. Less than 3% of African Americans donate blood. We got to change that. You never know who may need blood. You may need life-saving blood one day. So we definitely have to start participating and donating blood.
I do have one other one for you, because it's real. We all are, dealing with what's happening politically and socially and whatnot. And we started by talking about how important your job is and the city center is. So that being said, I'm curious about like the philanthropy side of it, because I know last year you had a beautiful fundraiser, celebrating the school and the history, right? But that was prior, to sort of our current federal government. That was prior to like things that's even going on here, locally and as far as within the state, especially when it comes to funding.
Right.
So like grants and philanthropists. Like I'm curious if there is even an ask for that, or how can people get more information, even if you don't have a specific ask, for people who maybe want to inquire about grants for the city center or want to make donations. Who do they reach out to for that?
So right now we are in the middle of our strategic plan, and I am sure that our strategic plan for Jefferson School Foundation is going to have a component where philanthropy, something that we historically haven't really asked for, will definitely be a component this time go round. That is the building is almost 100 years old. So you can imagine the amount of money it takes to keep that building going every year. So for more information, you can visit our website, www.jeffersonschoolfoundation.org. You can stop by our office. But again, we are getting ready to roll out our strategic plan, and I'm sure I'll be back up here at some point to talk about all the things, but yeah, for sure.
All right.
Well, I know that the only thing that I have left, Charles, is last time you were on the show, and you've said this more than one time when we've had you visit, so you're working hard to try to increase the footprint of the Jefferson School and its impact on those that live here or visit here. Are we headed in the right direction in terms of that?
I'd say so. I would definitely say so. I would say that just looking at the calendar alone for the end of the year, I would say we're bringing more people to the school. It would be remiss of me to say this, and this is in my humble opinion. Losing Pearl Island is a little bit of a hit, because I have always said that Pearl Island has been the heartbeat of the Jefferson School City Center. They bring energy and synergy, and so many people visit that space for meetings. And I hope that we are able to find a restaurant, food vendor that can bring not the same energy, but energy to the school, where we're bringing different people to the building every day for a cup of coffee or lunch, or to break bread, talk business. That is my hope. So if you are a food vendor and you're looking for a brick and mortar, please reach out to Jefferson School Foundation. We have a cafe space available.
In my humble opinion, serious inquiries only. Can you manage a brick and mortar?
That part. That part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Kimberly, as always.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anytime. And so good folks know how to reach you. Please keep up the great work.
Appreciate you.
IMHO Talk Show.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, Black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More Black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed, so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning into In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor. You know what it is. Sir Charles.
Miss Max.
That's right. Back like we never left. About the last half hour of the show. So what they call this, Max? Bottom of the last hour.
That's right.
That's right. But Miss Max, I got I think we should end this show because there's been so much deep and rich conversation. I think we should end this show like with a fun ass Max.
Okay.
But before we get to that though, how about we just take this segment though to talk a little bit about what's going on in the community because it's a lot going on. We have people tapping in with us, and we can't even like fit everybody in. But people say just mention it for me. So we appreciate y'all's understanding, and sometimes it's our schedule, sometimes it's others, but we're glad that we can be this conduit for the community, right? So and thank everybody who's been on the show so far too, Mayor Walker, and Abundant Life Ministries, as well as the Jefferson School Foundation, who runs the school city center. And every tenant in it. But just to run it down real quick, Max, we were talking to Abundant Life about the Gospel Explosion community concert. So there's a lot of good news, a lot of word on the show. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm happy about that.
I'm looking forward to that.
We need that, as our minds need that in this community. Hear good stuff.
Yes, indeed. And as we said too, the fact that the festival that's for us by us, Soul of Cville, is in its 5th year, that's happening on that next day, August 10th. I think that's divine intervention. That the Gospel Explosion is the day before, getting us together, getting our spirits
Make sure
right.
y'all don't do no sinning that week.
getting our minds right before we dance with the devil.
Sinning that week.
Let me stop for Kalila and Sabrina and Jaquan get mad at me. Now y'all know I'm joking. Soul of Cville, y'all, the 5th annual. And thanks to all the sponsors and supporters. That is August 10th through 17th. A beautiful festival lineup. I'm so proud of it, Max. If people haven't seen it, you can go to the X Art Park website, xartpark.org. And of course, the social medias of Jams and Beyond Fitness with Sabrina and Chic and Classy image consultant over there with Kalila, because the lineup is crazy. We talking about a week of just Black excellence.
Yeah. There you go. That
yes,
word.
Indeed. Right. Yeah. Or Black empowerment.
There you go.
Yeah. Both of them. Yeah. Our good friends at Chiamba having their African American Cultural Arts Festival yet another year. And a little switch up this year, Max. That one's going to be over at JP Burley Middle School. So right down the street from Washington Park, where it used to be. But y'all know how that goes, and they got a new board, and a lot of new board members rather, just trying to make sure that that it stays alive and well, and bringing fresh and new ideas, right? But you know what to expect. You know, the African dance troupe, the entertainment by DJ bands, the vendors, like pretty much every vendor you can think of for in the community, as well as folks selling, you know, good home crafted, homemade merchandise, handcrafted, all that good stuff is gonna be happening. And you can go to chiambadancescape.org for more info. If you want to be a vendor sponsor and know more about it.
Was Burley Lane High School, or do I have that confused?
No, Lane was the Albemarle County building.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And y'all fact checkers tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was over at the Albemarle County building. But Burley was a historic, historically Black school, right? And I believe that the white kids went to Lane.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Great question. And then we just celebrated Prospect Day yesterday. That was such a beautiful event, especially on the heels of community coming together and saying, we ain't never scared. We're gonna be here for each other. Don't you dare try to cancel us. That's right. So it was a beautiful showing of love for the community. Shouts out to Dream Clothing, Jamar, and everybody put that together. And now we can prepare for West Haven Day. Haven Community Day, yet another beautiful historic neighborhood that we can support. So the 28th West Haven Community Day is August 2nd. So you got a couple more weeks to prepare yourself. It said the motto is every year united by rhythm. If you go on the IMHO page as well as the sponsors page, which is FAR and CRHA, you can get more info, but we do have the QR code on ours as well, which is for vendor sign up as well as volunteer sign up. You're going to have food, bingo, resource fair, music, sports physicals. August 2nd, so before school start, y'all going to get those free physicals. Yes, indeed. Like I know Max ain't hear nothing I said after bingo, but
I know, well, it's so funny that you said that because I really didn't, just because people get serious about their bingo game.
It's almost like spades.
It's almost like spades.
Yes, indeed.
Especially with older folks.
That's right. Yeah. So the 28th West Haven Community Day, August 2nd, from 10 to 3 p.m., 10 a.m., 3 p.m. And then the big back to school drive is another one that reached out to us about shouting them out. And I know there's so much going on in the community, y'all, but as we said, we can work on centralizing that thing. But if you let us know, you send it to us, we got it. Now we may miss it if you just post it on your own, but if we share these things, y'all, then we can have each other's backs. But Miss Max, once again, those sponsors, Dream Clothing, 100 Black Men and 100 Cuts, Prolific, Boys and Girls Club, Centera, right? Back at it again to work together for big back to school bash at the Boys and Girls Club on Sunday, August 10th from 11 to 3 p.m. And I believe they even are gonna expand it and have something right down the street at the Forest Ave Park,
right?
As well. And a new piece this year is a new sponsor is Mahogany and Friends. Remember we had Jay Iris on here? Yeah. Jay Bradford. So with Mahogany and Friends, she is helping the good Amanda Burns lead the Better Together Back to School book drive. They say join us in creating a magical story time where every child leaves with a book in hand. It supports the literacy and help us collect 300 books for local kids. You can drop off books at House of Cuts Barber Studio, the Barber's Den, United Way, and the City of Charlottesville Human Services.
Okay.
The drop-off window is July 7th to August 1st. All right, because we are building a community of readers, one book at a time. Shouts out Jay and Amanda. That's right. Not only the kids getting the the essentials. Y'all know how to back to school to bash rocks. You get your hair did and all that good stuff. They probably gonna have some
all those different things.
Yeah, get you looking right, but also we trying to have that mind right.
That's right.
That's right. I'm excited, Ms. Max.
It's exciting. It really is, because what I hear is local groups taking care of their community, and that relationship has to be reciprocated, right? Members of the community need to take care of their local groups too. However, they're asking you to show up for them and to show support. Events, in some cases, is donations, in some cases, whatever it is, volunteering, like whatever it may be. We take care of each other.
That's right. Max, you ready to send them kids back to school?
I think they're ready. They're ready. Yeah. There's a little bit of expense associated with it. So some parents, I being one of them, is not thrilled about that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
You know, one thing that I didn't get to mention earlier at the end of Mayor Walker's interview, and did want to circle back, and I know it's way late to be coming back to this, but
we good.
With her parting comments to us, particularly when she was talking about the Charlottesville Police Department, the only thing that I wanted to add to that, wish we had more time to carry on that conversation with her, is that, you know, I do acknowledge the fact that the police department has a line to toe, if you will. They have certain responsibilities that are by default entrusted into a police department, and are required to carry those things out. And I do understand what it means for alternative sentencing, or how the police engage with the community, or targeting or profiling Black men and women. I do understand all of those things, but we also must keep in the back of our minds is that when guns are being used to commit crimes against other citizens, you know, if our community, persons in our community are using guns to commit crimes against other persons in our community, something does have to be done. And there's a right and wrong way, of course, to do that. And that's where we disagree. People can disagree, but that it has to be addressed, because I'm sure that those directly impacted by that incident in Orangedale on July 4th are wanting some type of justice for their families.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, because I think we touched on, you know, on the point of that.
Yeah.
Like there's no one way, right? It's simple yet complex, right? There's accountability to be had at every turn.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, indeed. That's the good news in the word on the street, Miss. Let's take a quick break and how about we close this thing out? And I got a question for you. And don't get all serious, like you know, because it ain't that serious.
Okay.
But I ain't gonna tell you what it is till we get back.
All right.
IMHO Talk Show, y'all. Be right back. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Sir Charles.
Miss Max.
Let's see, which mic is you on? You on number 3. All right. Miss Max.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that every superhero needs theme music?
Everyone.
So we got a little ditty in the background playing called The Questions.
Okay.
So our long-term listeners know what that means. They know what's about to go down.
Mm-hmm. Look, I don't have my headset on, so when you said a little ditty, I was like, wait a minute, wait a
Not
minute.
that
Give me something else. Play something else. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, so this came across the I Am Made Show files, the I Am Made Show desk.
Mm-hmm.
And let me pull it up. Because there's a young lady who made a choice. And folks want to know, what would Max do?
Okay.
I'm gonna get that bracelet printed. WWM.
Oh, yeah.
What would Max do?
That's funny.
Maybe we should rename Ask Max. What would Max do?
Mm-hmm.
For today, that's what we're gonna call it. What would Max do? All right. So, all right. Let me find it. All right. Are you ready for today's Ask Max?
I think so. You told me it's not that serious, so go ahead. I'm listening.
A Florida woman is arrested after accidentally being overpaid nearly $500,000 by her job.
Oh, wow.
If you didn't hear me.
Accidentally. Okay.
If you didn't hear me.
Did she work in payroll? Is she in HR? Because who makes that mistake?
Right? If you didn't hear me, Florida woman arrested after accidentally being paid over nearly $500,000 by her job, which she spent half of it buying things for herself and her family.
Okay.
I mean, that's it.
Okay.
So have her buying stuff for her things. Yeah. All right. So Max, since it's Ask Max, you always bring it home. You always bring it home. So let me start with this one. First of all, this is something that crosses my mind quite a bit.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if it's because, like I'm looking for a bigger blessing. I don't know what it is. But I like when I go to the ATM sometimes I'll be like, what if it gives me more money than I asked for? Do I take it in the bank? What would I do? And I think I'm a man of value, but that crossed my mind right now. Like I do got that extra credit card bill.
Yeah.
If the Lord want to bless me with an extra zero, who am I to say no?
Won't he do it?
Who am I to say no, Miss Max? So it does cross my mind sometimes, right? But this lady though, I noticed how the report says she spent half of it. All right, so let's break it down. All right, so $500,000 accidentally being paid to her by her job, and it says she spent, and she gets arrested, because they figured out that she was receiving money she shouldn't have received. All right, but is that stealing? If you get something that you didn't take, they gave it to you, is that technically stealing?
And she spent $250,000.
So that's the thing I'm saying, because you asked about her being a part, if she's a part of HR or payroll or whatever. So if she spent half of it. To me, that sounds very specific. That sounds like there's a conscience there.
Yeah.
Of saying I ain't gonna spend all this because I may gotta pay some of it back. Right. So it sounds like something was consciously done there. Right. Or because on the flip side, you could be like, let me spend it all before they find it.
Right.
You could have went that way too.
And And
But-
if they, and then when they catch on to me, when the jig is up,
Right.
then I'll be like, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Right. So spend half of it buying things for herself and her family. So
Okay.
she ain't buy a Lambo. Like she ain't like, you know, like she ain't go to Brazil.
Yeah.
She, you know, she bought stuff her and her family needed, you know. I have no idea what company this is. So guess it depends on, you know, like how compassionate they are. But yeah, like, but those two things stood out to me the most. Like thinking about is this a, you know, like is this considered stealing? What is the court of law going to say? She's been arrested. Like, so what is the court of law going to say? How are they going to handle it? If somebody works in HR, y'all call up here, text us or inboxes. Like, you know, tell us what your company would do. You know, like I wonder if people have anything in their bylaws and like their standards, you know, if something like this happens.
Because I didn't know. I'm just gonna tell you. Look,
I thought it was my
I
bonus.
would have to, right? If I see numbers like that in my bank account, I'm gonna have to seek guidance from up above, because everything that I could owe and want is going to flash before my eyes. I'm just being very honest with you. Would I spend any? Am I gonna spend $250,000 of it? At that point, I'm starting thinking jail time. So I can't say I would do that. But would I be tempted to spend some of it? I mean, maybe they'd take a payment plan to give it back once they figure out that I got that money and used it. I'm probably, y'all gonna judge me because of this. Y'all gonna judge me so bad, so hard.
It's just the radio.
I'm probably spending some of that, some of it, a little bit of it, and feel bad and say, Lord, I know that this is not, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm thinking I'm gonna use a little bit and then hope I can get out of it when I get caught.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
When it gets real, if I'm actually looking at the numbers in my account, you know, decisions might be differently. But I can tell you right now, I'm thinking that I'm definitely going to be tempted to spend some of that money, because all my cares and worries go away at that point. You know?
at least for a moment, at least temporarily, right?
So, yeah. How about you?
Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, I didn't already answer. I thought I answered first.
Did you?
I kind of did, because I don't know.
Okay.
Like, that's my question. If you asking me, like, what would I do if my if my paycheck had 500,000 in it? Yeah, I mean, I got to be faced with that situation. Like I said, I already think about things like that. Like, even when you walking down the street, let's say somebody dropped their bill for me, right? It's like, well, no,
that's different.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. Like, but I'm saying, like, you just walking and ain't nobody else around, and then there's like a stack, there's like a wad of money on the ground. That's a better way to put it. Because billfold, you probably got an idea.
I'm gonna take that. Just stack the money. Look, I'm gonna take that, and then look, I'm gonna make it right, because I'm gonna see some 20 panhandlers between where I am and where I'm going.
Okay, you gonna give 10% back.
I'm gonna give some of it away, and that's how we're gonna make that right before the Lord. That's the plan. But yeah, I mean, and it depends too. They deposit $500,000 in my account. It depends on how I'm doing financially. If I'm struggling, you know, I might spend some of it. On the other hand, if I'm good, then I'm just thinking about spending some of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah. So I don't know. So if anybody wanna chime in, you can now, or if you play this back, go ahead and we can address it next show. Y'all can have an online conversation in the comments. Let's see.
I can tell
Razor,
you.
hold on. Razor's online.
He said spend it and spend it now.
He said, Lord, no, white collar crimes do jail time. Okay, Razor. All right. Yeah.
That don't mean he won't think about it when you see those numbers. Yeah.
Oh man. Look, that wasn't Razor talking. That was Troy Robinson talking right there. That wasn't Razor. But no.
Ask him when the mic's off.
Yeah. Well, Max, I think it's been a good one. You know, like, we need to laugh after all that serious conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everybody once again. Kimberly with the Jefferson School City Center. Thanks also to Abundant Life Ministries. Great work they're doing, their gospel exposure coming up, you know, at the Jefferson School, and all the great stuff happening at Jefferson School, and as we said, in the community in general. And former Mayor Nikuyah J. Walker.
Right.
Always a privilege to talk to her and get her perspectives on things, and, you know, her calls to action, not only from us, but most importantly, those who say that they are the public servants of us, right?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that you can't doubt or question with Nikuyah is whether or not she has the best interest of the Black community at heart.
That's right.
At heart.
That's right.
And yeah. Great to talk to her, as well as all the other guests.
That's right. So as we go, Max, I don't know if he's gonna like this or not, but I'm gonna. Or actually, no. Troy said she know I'm gonna spend it.
Look, he know he gonna spend it. Don't do that.
But I don't know if Alexander want to be the unofficial sponsor of those shenanigans that just happened in that segment. But I'm gonna do it anyway because he gave me a beautiful flyer and he told me just to read it on air. So if you're gonna put me to work, Alexander, then you're gonna be the sponsor of these shenanigans that goes on this show. All right, but much love to you, Mr. Alexander, legend, complete legend. Y'all visit him at alex-zan.com. So that's alex-zan.com. All right, and y'all know the motto, let it go. That's anger, arguments, and revenge in the Ville. Changing the flow with Yogo. His quote, if you don't feed it, it won't grow. If you don't feed it, it won't grow. All right. In his list, if you got a beef or issue with someone, Yogo. If you hear gossip or rumors, Yogo. If you feel hurt or seek revenge, Yogo. If you are angry, close your mouth, Yogo. If you dwell on any mistakes, Yogo. If you send harmful texts or photos, Yogo. If you are doing things that disrupt your community, Yogo. To live a better life, be still and know. Listen, learn, and grow with Yogo. Alexander, you need to talk now. Call or text 988, right? And that's his partnership with the city of Charlottesville. And you can email him at alexander@i-c.net. So alexander@i-c.net. All right. And these 7 tools, man, Alexander got a lot to say. Let it go to reduce the culture of violence. So it is a serious issue. You got 7 tools to avoid conflict and confrontation. So y'all run it back if you miss any of it. Remember, if you don't feed it, it won't grow. Alexander. So number 1, JT, just think. Number 2, TBO, the brush off. Get that dirt off your shoulders. 3, JMS, just my style, which means it's about your character, your style, and what makes you. 4, take 10. Right? Count to 10. 5, WBA, wave and back away. All right. 6, 3DB, pause and take 3 deep breaths. So 3DB, 3 deep breaths. And lastly, 7, CYM. I know Sim, he mentioned that. Close your mouth.
Listen.
Close your mouth. Listen and move on. Remember, y'all. Till next time, Ms. Max, I made show.
Good information.
That's right. Man. If you don't feed it, it won't grow. All right, Ville, we love y'all.
We appreciate you.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxillia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.